Hi, my name is Stacy Singh, and welcome to the Clean Air Podcast. Our world has been turned upside down with the emergence of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. What started off as an outbreak causing a mysterious pneumonia-like illness in Wuhan, China, quickly spread like wildfire to every country on Earth. It was eventually deemed a pandemic by the World Health Organization on March 11, 2020. When you look at the respiratory viruses that have affected humans in the past, the consensus is that COVID-19 will eventually transition to becoming an endemic disease, something that we're just going to have to learn to live with for the foreseeable future. I'm here with Dr. Yevgen Nazarenko, who is a research associate at McGill University. He specializes in the science of bioaerosols. Thank you for being here today, Dr. Nazarenko. We now know that COVID-19 is spread via airborne methods. Can you tell us how, as a society, we need to navigate through this new normal? What does this mean for places that typically have large gatherings of people, such as our gyms, restaurants, our workplaces? How do we reduce transmissions in these places with a lot of people?
So, of course, transmission via the airborne route that SARS-CoV-2 variant spread through the most, and in fact, people, is facilitated by close contact. The closer a person is to another person that's emitting the infectious particles, the higher the infectious dose, and so the higher the risk of infection. But of course, in different settings, we cannot always maintain a sufficient physical distance. And also, if ventilation is poor, if the air is not filtered, it means these particles will linger in the air over extended periods of time and they can accumulate in these indoor spaces. What it means is that people who are farther apart will be exposed to higher concentrations of infectious particles, increasing the risk of transmission of COVID-19. So what we can do really is to ensure that in addition to physical distancing, we reduce the concentration of these infectious particles in the air as much as possible. And that can be done really by two means. It's filtering the particles out of the air, either at the source using the mask or using various filtration systems, standalone or central filtration systems, and better ventilation. So those are the interventions that we can deploy to reduce the concentration of infectious particles in the air and reduce the risk of transmission in these indoor settings.
So, what about our homes? Our immediate families were considered or are considered our safe bubble. But during the pandemic, a large number of transmissions were happening at home. What does this mean for having? Is there such a thing as having a safe gathering? How do we gather with family and friends without having to worry about having an outbreak at home?
So I think the better term to use is safer gatherings. And of course, with these new strains of COVID-19, we know that it's very likely we will have to deal with this disease looking into the future. And we cannot have lockdowns all our life. So we need to think about how we can interact with other people safer, how we can see our loved ones and our family members and friends safer. And of course, different interventions such as using filtration methods, masks and respirators, different filtration systems at home, better ventilation at home, are all helpful at reducing the risk of transmission. When we have friends over, if we don't have very, very close contact with them, it's really important to minimize the concentration of infectious particles in the air. And that is done using two methods. The control at the source, which is masks, which reduce emission of infectious particles into the air, and secondly, removal of infectious particles from the air, either by dilution with fresh air or with filtered air. And the air could be filtered using central systems, and if there's no central system, with high efficiency of filtration, with standalone filtration systems that you can have in the home. So all those methods, reducing the concentration of infectious particles a person will be exposed to, reduce the risk of infection.